Hi everyone, Tony Costa here from Toronto Apologetics. So glad that you could join us. I'd like to encourage you, as always, to subscribe to the channel if you've not done so, and also to like and to share the video as well. Today, I want to talk about Jehovah's Witnesses, and I want to talk about Jehovah's Witnesses and how they have been lied to by the governing body. The governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses is believed to be the anointed class. These are members of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society who claim to be part of the heavenly class, the 144,000. Jehovah's Witnesses believe that only 144,000 members of the Watchtower will rule invisibly with Christ, who is also an invisible spirit, that they will rule with him from the heavens over the paradise earth, that the remainder of Jehovah's Witnesses will live on, that is, on the earth. So the governing body to them is like the Roman Catholic magisterium. They have a president, and they have this, the president is also part of the governing body. Much like you have the Pope and you have the magisterium of the Roman Catholic Church. Now, what I say in this video, I say out of complete love to Jehovah's Witnesses, because I do care about them and I do love them for the sake of the gospel. But one of the things I want to address in this video is the way that they have been misled. And this is very serious. The way the governing body, who are supposed to be the anointed class, who are supposed to be members of this heavenly class, the 144,000, who will reign with Christ Jesus and will see him, whereas the rest of Jehovah's Witnesses living on a paradise earth will never see him. They'll never see Christ. And I've had many Jehovah's Witnesses say to me, "Oh, I don't want to see Jesus. I just want to live forever on paradise earth. He'll rule over me with the anointed class." Now, the governing body, my Jehovah's Witness friends, and you're probably, if you're watching this video, you're probably feeling in your head or thinking, you're hearing a voice saying, "Oh, don't listen to this guy. He's an apostate." Well, first of all, I'm not an apostate. I've never been a Jehovah's Witness. I've never been baptized Jehovah's Witness. So I'm not an apostate. You can only be an apostate if you've been a member of a certain group like the Jehovah's Witnesses and then you left. That's not my case. So you may be thinking, "No, I'm going to shut this guy out. I'm just going to tune him out." What I'm saying to you is based on evidence from the Watchtower itself. Um, the governing body has lied to you. Not only have they lied to you, they've done the very things they have by their actions committed a what you would regard as a betrayal of the highest order against God. They've committed an act of treason, an act of betrayal against the one you believe to be Jehovah God, the one true God. Now, who Jehovah the Watchtower is that's a different topic altogether. I've got videos on that on my channel on Jehovah of the Watchtower. But I just want you to consider, if the governing body, who you believe are part of the elite class, the heavenly class, if you believe that they are the faithful and wise servant who is dispensing food and giving out the food, the spiritual food to Jehovah's people, then you really need to listen to this, because what you're going to hear is based on the evidence. You could check it out for yourself. I'm not making this up. But I want to address the fact that, number one, the Jehovah's Witness and the Watchtower believes that the United Nations in New York City, the United Nations is the whore of Babylon, the harlot that rides the Scarlet Beast, and that the United Nations is an affront to God and Jehovah's Witnesses, the way they put it, his son, Christ Jesus, as king. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quote from the Watchtower material itself, and what it has to say on the subject. And so if you just follow me carefully here, I'm going to read a portion here from the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. And we're going to read what the Watchtower itself has to say about the United Nations. So this comes from the Watchtower online library that anyone can access. And this is from the 2012 September 15th Watchtower magazine. So again, this is right out of their own website, jw.org. You can check it out for yourself. And the title of this article in the Watchtower is How This World Will Come to an End. And I'm just going to bring the print a little bigger here. So as we go through this, what will happen just before the end? And there you'll see the United Nations building in New York City. If you've ever been to New York City, you probably may have seen the United Nations building. So what will happen just before the end? And here it talks about, quoting 1 Thessalonians 5, 2-3. This is from their own New World Translation. It says that he draws attention to Jehovah's Day as used here. Jehovah's Day refers to the period that will start with the destruction of false religion and will culminate in the war of Armageddon. However, just before that day of Jehovah begins, world leaders will be saying peace and security. This may refer to one event or to a series of events. Nations may think that they are close to solving some of their problems. What about the religious leaders? They are part of the world, so it is possible that they will join the political leaders. The clergy would thus be imitating the false prophets of ancient Judah, and Jehovah said about them, they are saying there's peace when there is no peace. So again, notice these are supposed to be the various politicians in the United Nations who are deluding and deceiving the masses, deceiving the people. Now, it goes on to point out there that unlike mankind in general, we discern scriptural significance of current events. How exactly will this prophecy about saying peace and security be fulfilled? We must wait and see. Therefore, let us be determined to stay awake and keep our senses. Now, it goes on to talk about here in this next section. It says here, the first phase of this sudden destruction is the attack against Babylon the Great, the world empire of false religion. And it goes on to say, also known as the harlot. Then it goes on to say the attack against all forms of false religion, including Christendom, that is to say, the Christian church, is the start of the Great Tribulation. For many, this event will come as a surprise. Why? Because up to that point, the harlot will confidently view herself as a queen who will never see morning, but she will suddenly discover that she has miscalculated her chances of survival, and she will be wiped out rather quickly if in one day, as in one day, rather. Now, here's my main point that I want to get to. God's word identifies the harlot attacker as a wild beast with 10 horns. Now, notice this, folks. A study of the book of Revelation shows that the wild beast refers to the United Nations. And the 10 horns represent all present political powers that support the scarlet-colored wild beast. How devastating will this attack be? The nations of the UN will plunder the harlot's wealth, expose her real character, and completely burn her. Destruction will be final. So notice that the Watchtower here identifies that wild beast, the scarlet beast, as the United Nations. And notice that the 10 horns of that beast represent all the present political powers that support the scarlet-colored wild beast. So remember, that beast is the United Nations. And the political powers that support that beast, the United Nations, will be destroyed, completely destroyed. Now, let's now look at what the Watchtower, after hearing what it said, you'll notice that the Watchtower has consistently made these various claims of herself. And so notice here in the front cover of this September 15th, 1974, the Watchtower, what does the future hold for the United Nations? What does the future hold for the United Nations? Now, you noticed earlier that they identified the United Nations with the Scarlet Beast. So, what does the future hold for the United Nations? Well, she will be destroyed. You also see this in the April 1st, 1989 edition of the Watchtower, a mystery, who is Babylon the Great? And Babylon the Great, again, false religions that are in cooperation, they are in union with the Scarlet Beast, which is again the United Nations. Here again, in an old publication of the Watchtower, the judgment upon the great harlot. Notice the harlot is shown with the image of the United Nations building and the symbol of the United Nations that you see at the top right. And here it says, for 1,000 years, and it has been the shame of the present wicked system of things, she has loved to mix in the politics of this world and to influence the course of politics for her own interests and so forth. So notice the woman that rides on that Scarlet Beast is representative of the United Nations. That's what Jehovah's Witnesses have been taught, and they're still being taught this idea. Now, here's where it gets interesting. And this is where, again, Jehovah's Witnesses, you need to study this. You need to check this out. Because in all their publications, and here's see another example, there you see a clear identification of the Scarlet Beast with the United Nations. And so it states, as prophesied about the scarlet-colored wild beast, the League of Nations was abyssed during World War II, but was revived as the United Nations. And so once again, the Scarlet Beast is the United Nations. You can't avoid that identification. It's right there in front of you. Now, what a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses don't realize is that the Watchtower organization, I'm just going to increase this, the Watchtower organization was actually part of the United Nations for 9 years. So here's a letter from the Department of Public Information, the DPI, NGO, non-governmental organizations, March 4th, 2004. To whom it may concern, recently the NGO section has been receiving numerous inquiries regarding the association of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York with the Department of Public Information. This organization applied for association with DPI in 1991 and was granted association in 1992. By accepting association with DPI, the organization agreed to meet criteria for association, including support and respect of the principles of the Charter of the United Nations and commitment and means to conduct effective information programs with its constituents and to a broader audience about UN activities. So notice the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, led by the Governing Council, applied for association with them, with the United Nations. And they were granted association in 1992. Now, the terms of accepting that association means that the organization, the Watchtower, had to agree to meet the criteria for association with the UN and including support and respect. So they're supposed to support and respect the principles of the Charter of the United Nations. Now, who again is the United Nations? The Scarlet Beast, upon whom the harlot, the whore of Babylon, rides. The Watchtower associated with the United Nations, thereby associating with the Scarlet Beast of Revelation 17 and 18. Now notice in October 2001, so from the time of their association in 1992 till 2001, 9 years. 9 years, folks, almost a decade. In October 2001, the main representative of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York, the main representative, this would be the president or member of the governing body, the main representative of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York to the United Nations, Cyril Olesino, requested termination of its association with DPI. Now, why do you think they requested disassociation, or why did they request termination? Because it got leaked out. The cat was out of the bag. And so, just like the Watchtower has always done in the past, when they're found out, they change the story. They hide. Now, remember, if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you're watching this, the Watchtower, the governing council, the anointed class, is associated with the Scarlet Beast, with Antichrist. But in 2001 of October, Cyril Olesino requested termination of its association with DPI. Following this request, the DPI made a decision to disassociate the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York as of November or 9th of November 2001. Why? Why were they hiding from you, Jehovah's Witnesses? Why was the governing council, the anointed class, the heavenly class, why were they hiding the fact that they were in cahoots, in association with the Scarlet Beast, which is the United Nations? Do you trust this organization? If they've been in league with Antichrist, the United Nations, that is an affront to Jehovah God and his sovereignty? Well, the United Nations also, in the 11th of October, 2 days after the DPI letter, to whom it may concern, recently the NGO section had been receiving numerous inquiries. Notice they're receiving numerous inquiries. People are hearing things, and they're trying to find out what's going on. They've been receiving numerous inquiries regarding the association of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York with the Department of Public Information. This organization applied for association with DPI in 1991 and was granted association in 1992. By accepting association with DPI, the organization agreed to meet criteria for association, so they're associating with the Scarlet Beast, including support and respect of the principles of the Charter. So now they're supporting the Scarlet Beast and respecting the Charter and rules of the Scarlet Beast, and commitment and means to conduct effective information programs with its constituents to a broader audience about UN activities. In October 2001, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York requested termination of its association with DPI. Why? Because they were found out. And instead of coming out and admitting that they were false prophets and that they were in cahoots and in bed with the false system, with the Scarlet Beast, the United Nations, they hid it, hoping no one would find out. Following this request, the DPI has made a decision to disassociate the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York as of 9 October 2001. We appreciate your interest in the work of the United Nations, signed by Paul Hofel, the Chief NGO Section, Department of Public Information. It's right there, folks. How can you trust this organization that has lied to you? They've not lied to you just for 9 years. They've been lying to you since 1879, since they got started, up until today. And so who really is the Scarlet Beast? Well, lo and behold, Jehovah's Witness friends, it's your governing council. They're the Scarlet Beast. They've been in cahoots with the United Nations. And how can you trust them? When, according to your own principles and your own teachings, this is an act of treason against your God. And so the point being that you cannot trust the Watchtower. They've lied to you. They've lied to you for a long time. They've lied to you for over a century. And they're still lying to you. And you're going to put your eternal destiny in their hands when they've done the very thing that they said no one should do. They're doing what they accused the religious leaders of the world of doing. And they joined in and did the same thing. And that's because the governing body are false prophets and false teachers. You may want to turn this off, tune me out, and say, no, no, they're God's representatives. If they're God's representatives, why were they in association with the Scarlet Beast, the United Nations? Why? It's because not only are they false teachers, but the God and Jesus they've taught you is the wrong God, the wrong Jesus. Jehovah the Watchtower is not the Jehovah of the Bible. You've been conned. You've been lied. And when someone lies to you, doesn't matter how often, you learn never to trust them again. Because trust is something that once it's gone, it's very hard to restore. Well, thank you everyone for joining in this brief section. We encourage you once again to like the video, share it, and to subscribe to Toronto Apologetics. It's always free. So thanks again, everyone, and look forward to seeing you again in a future episode. Take care and God bless. Bye for now.